So here's a campfire tale for the internet campfire. And this one's also starting out in my childhood. So when I was young, not every night, but many nights, I used to lay down in my bed, start a very sort of interesting pattern of breathing that was different than what I usually would do. So I would kind of breathe in, hold the breath, breathe out. And when I would do this, I would also put my attention at the base of my spine. And that's, I would breathe in, I would go up my spine to the top of my head, stop, breathe out. And when this went on, a charge would start to build up in my lower body, especially near the base of my spine. And this charge would very quickly become something, a very, very blissful sensation. And so this would be, oh, my whole body would just be relaxing and delightful. And then at a certain point, I would come to a place where I knew that if I kind of just let myself go, I would end up shooting out the top of my head. And so often when I would shoot out the top of my head, I would just fall into just sleep, and I would, wake up the next morning, nothing going on. Other times I would shoot out the top of my head, and I would find myself leaving my body, going out the wall of my bedroom, flying over the maple tree in my backyard, going all sorts of different places. When I was a kid, I would often go to a place that was very mountainous, and it should have been very, very cold. Of course, when I was there, I didn't feel cold at all, but it was kind of big snow-capped mountain peaks, and I would go to this kind of valley or a platform. Lots of people were there, and I would just kind of be there. And usually in this gathering of things were done telepathically, people would be saying things, but nobody's mouth would be moving. That's why I would say that telepathic things were happening. And this was very interesting. I would feel really, really good at whatever the hell was going on up there. And then I would wake up in the morning and say, like, oh, that was a good dream. So basically, I viewed these as dreams most of my life. Then ultimately, in my teen years, it started happening again after maybe like a 5-year break or something like that. It kind of slowed down when I was 11 and really picked up steam when I was 16. And so I would start going out the top of my head again. And this time I was starting to go not to a faraway mountainy place as I had done when I was a kid, but I was going to sort of a local. And the local place was like a city in the sky. That's how I could describe it. A floating city in the sky above my hometown lake, Lake Geneva. I would go there, and most of the time I didn't know anyone who was there. I didn't recognize anybody at this place, but this was a little bit different because it felt more formalized. And so I would find myself in lecture halls, taking classes on different things, economics of the future. A lot of stuff was of the future, economics of the future, or I would go to history lectures that would sometimes give me very different accounts of how certain things happen. One night, the most surprising thing was I found myself, I was actually teaching a class and in an area that at the time I neither had much knowledge nor really much interest in. I was teaching some kind of oh my God, it'd be like if you were to take ideas of Rudolf Steiner and Sheldrake and sort of fold them a little bit more into mainline botany and, advance it 40 years or something. So I was teaching sort of the botany of the future in a class. And I kind of remembered some of the words that I was saying. Mainly I remember these kind of mental holographs that I think I may have been projecting, or were, like some kind of futuristic slide projection. But there they were, and then I woke up one morning straight from this place. So no segue, nothing like that. I woke up, and it was in the summer break, so I slept in. And it wasn't like, early morning. It must have been like, I don't know, 8 a.m., something like that. So lots of sun coming in through the window. And the words on my mouth immediately were, botany? And so that was, I was like, okay, well, that was an extra potent dream. And so anyways, maybe a day, 2 days later, I saw my walk-in shaman friend Austin, and without me mentioning a damn thing, and I've never told him about these dreams before, he basically said, "Oh, it was really, your lecture the other night was really good." I said, "What lecture? Where? What are you talking about?" The lecture you gave on the ship. I said, "What ship?" I don't remember being on any kind of boat. I was pretty dense sometimes. And he said, "Oh, the one that's, above the lake." He said, "Oh, you mean the floating city?" Is what I said. He said, "Yes, okay." And I said, "Oh, go on." And he said, "Well, yeah, you were talking about the botany of the future." And I was like, "Oh, all right. That's good to know. Thank you for telling me." And right at that point, I started to suspect that not only had the very recent dreams had more than dream to them, but perhaps a lot of the stuff that was going on in earlier childhood had some kind of perhaps real substance and more than just the pure imagination. Now this has been fun going on into the future. It was the hottest when I was a teenager, but it's been fun sometimes to have friends who actually met each other in these dream spaces. And I think one friend, I don't know if it was strictly a dream space, but he met another friend, and to her she said, "You're the one from the astral plane." They immediately had this recognition of common meetings in sort of the sleep space. So that's a little bit of high strangeness from the Midwestern holograph for you. Uh, go and have a good time. If you want to do that, for me, I think it happens spontaneously. I also look back after learning various formalized meditation practices and realized that whatever I was doing as a 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, probably up to about age 8, that breathing technique is very reminiscent of a lot of different sorts of meditations that I was later trained in. So, past life, maybe. Something in the water, maybe. But a key to that is getting really relaxed, especially before bed. Finding a way to get yourself into that clear, relaxed, yet alert space. And the more time spent there in that space going into sleep, the more we tend to pick up what was going on in the night, in the liminal. Another thing which I took up later, because I wasn't doing this as a kid, was starting a dream journal in the morning. And just that simple act of keeping a dream journal tends to make us more aware and allows us to hold on to a lot of the stuff that was transpiring in the night before. And this actually reminds me one more thing. Hopefully this video is not too long, but this reminds me of when I was living in Vancouver, British Columbia. We were living in what was essentially, I think, had been built as an army barracks for the Canadian Army. It was a very sort of industrial building right on Main Street, near Main Street on Broadway. For those who know East Vancouver, that was near Mount Pleasant. And anyhow, it got to the point where I started having these again dreams that I realized weren't dreams. I'd be running in the halls, chasing a ghost, because we had one or two in the building that people had a sense of, and chasing them around. And the interesting thing I realized there was that I had a consistent astral clothing, which was in a consistent, almost astral avatar. I looked like I had when I was maybe about 23, except my hair was even better in the astral. I wasn't wearing a shirt. I was kind of wearing like a Greek warrior skirt. And I had interesting sort of golden sandals on, very much like a Mercury sort of aesthetic. And I was just gleefully chasing this, this poor shade and saying, "Come to the light, come to the light." And when I couldn't catch it, I ran back and ran right through the wall of my bedroom and swan dived into my body. And as soon as I made contact with my physical body, I would wake up with the, just the most jolting start. So there's the end of our high strangeness from the holograph setting. I'd be very keen to know if any of you have those sorts of weird experiences, and if you want to share them publicly, go for it. And also, if you like my videos, please feel free to, as all the other people on YouTube say, like, subscribe, make a comment, hit the bell, because all of those things apparently uh, help in promoting the channel and making the algorithm happy or something like that. So have a lovely day, night, afternoon, or whenever you happen to be watching this video. Cheers.